You dare put your filthy hands on his mother, you worthless little maid? The words didn't just echo, they stabbed through the living room like broken glass. Maya Bennett, 30, knelt beside Evelyn Carter, the elderly woman trembling violently in her wheelchair. Maya's arms wrapped around her in pure instinct, to shield, to steady, to protect. "Please," Maya whispered, breath unsteady. "She's scared. She's hurting. Don't do this to her. She's your future mother-in-law."
You dare put your filthy hands on his mother, you worthless little maid? The words didn't just echo, they stabbed through the living room like broken glass. Maya Bennett, 30, knelt beside Evelyn Carter, the elderly woman trembling violently in her wheelchair. Maya's arms wrapped around her in pure instinct, to shield, to steady, to protect. "Please," Maya whispered, breath unsteady. "She's scared. She's hurting. Don't do this to her. She's your future mother-in-law." Regina's lips twisted into something crueler than a smile. "Don't lecture me, sweetheart." Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she stepped closer. "You're here to scrub floors, not touch his mother with your cheap little hands." Then, without warning, the porcelain teapot she'd been gripping flew across the room, smashing into the wall inches above Maya's head. Shards exploded across the floor like glittering shrapnel. Maya's body jolted, but she didn't move away. Her voice dropped to a desperate murmur as she held Evelyn tighter. "It's okay. I've got you. Just breathe. Please breathe." Evelyn whimpered, her hands shaking, her voice trapped somewhere between fear and apology. Regina scoffed loudly. "Oh, look at her, pretending to be some savior. Ethan needs to fire you today." But then, a voice. Deep, calm, controlled in a way that made the air shift. "What the hell is happening in here?" Daniel Carter stood in the doorway, broad-shouldered, suited, and radiating a cold, dangerous calm. He didn't blink. He didn't speak again. He just watched. For a moment, everything froze. The trembling mother, the maid on the floor, and Regina hovering like a predator caught mid-strike. "Daniel," Regina gasped, her entire demeanor flipping into softness and tears. "Oh, thank God! She attacked your mother. I tried to stop her. I swear." Maya lifted her head, eyes wet but steady. "That's not true," Maya said softly, but the softness carried more courage than a scream. Regina spun toward her, eyes blazing. "Oh, please, look at her, pathetic, trembling on the floor. Of course she's lying." Maya didn't flinch. She didn't look at Regina. She kept one hand steady on Evelyn's shoulder and slowly rose to her knees, shielding the old woman like a human wall. Daniel stepped farther into the room. His jaw tightened, the only visible sign that he was fighting to contain something darker. "Regina, tell me exactly what happened." Regina blinked rapidly, tears forming so fast they looked rehearsed. "She grabbed your mother and tried to pull her out of her chair. Look at the mess she caused." Daniel's eyes darted to the shattered porcelain on the floor. Maya followed his gaze. "That wasn't me," she murmured. "She threw it. At me." "Liar!" Regina snapped. The word cracked through the air, but Daniel's eyes narrowed, not at Maya, but at Regina. He knew that tone. He knew that defensiveness. He'd heard it before. "Why would she attack my mother?" Daniel asked, his voice eerily calm. Regina hesitated. For a full second she couldn't speak. Then her face twisted into that fragile, weaponized sorrow she'd perfected over years of elite social circles. "Because she's jealous. She's obsessed with you. I've seen the way she looks at you. She hates that I'm the one marrying into this family." Maya's breath caught. Not in shock, in disbelief. It was so outrageous, so absurd, that even Evelyn's trembling paused for a heartbeat. Daniel's eyes flicked to the old woman. "Mom," he said quietly, kneeling beside her. "Is that true?" Evelyn's lips moved, barely, soft, struggling. No," her voice cracked like brittle paper. "She helped me." Regina's jaw clenched. That old woman is confused, she snapped before she could stop herself. Daniel's head snapped toward her, eyes narrowing. Evelyn flinched. Maya tightened her hold. A long, suffocating silence filled the room. Regina swallowed hard, realizing her mistake, and rushed to recover. I mean, she's not well, Daniel. You know that. Anyone could manipulate her. Manipulate? Maya whispered. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Daniel stood, slow and deliberate, like a man still sifting through chaos but beginning to see the shape of truth. Regina, if she threw that teapot, why did it land over there? He pointed, straight at the wall behind Maya. The angle doesn't make sense. Regina faltered. I must have dropped it. Everything happened so fast. You threw it. Daniel's voice was no longer calm. It was controlled fury. Regina took a step back. Daniel, baby? What are you saying? But he was no longer looking at her. He turned to Maya, eyes steady, searching. Did you touch my mother? Maya met his gaze without trembling. I held her because she panicked. She was crying. She said her chest hurt. Daniel's eyes flicked to Evelyn. Mom, your chest. Evelyn nodded weakly, pressing a shaking hand to her sternum. That was it. Daniel's entire body snapped into urgency. Maya, call Dr. Hensley, now. I already did, Maya replied. He's on his way. For a moment, something like gratitude flickered through Daniel's expression. Regina noticed that, and she panicked. You're defending her? She screeched, voice rising. She's lying. She lied about the pain. She's lying about me. She didn't lie about the pain, Daniel said coldly. You did.
Regina's face twisted. You think she cares about your mother? She spit out. She cares about staying in this house. She's been milking sympathy since the day she got here. A sound cut her off. A soft, strangled sob. Evelyn. Quiet. Broken. Stop. Please, the old woman whispered. Regina froze. Daniel froze. Even Maya felt her breath lock. Evelyn lifted a trembling hand toward Maya, not Regina. Maya leaned closer, tears rising in her eyes as Evelyn mouthed, "Thank you." Daniel saw it. He saw everything. His gaze hardened into something that made Regina take half a step back. You need to leave, Daniel said quietly. Regina blinked. What? Get out of this room. Her eyes widened in disbelief. You're choosing her side? I'm choosing the truth, he said. Now leave. Regina's expression twisted into righteous fury. You'll regret this. You don't know what she's capable of. She's capable of compassion, Daniel said. Something I'm not sure you understand. Regina's face flushed red, humiliated, enraged, cornered. This isn't over, she warned. She stormed out, heels cracking across the marble like gunshots. The moment she disappeared down the hallway, the house felt 10 degrees warmer. Daniel turned back to his mother. Maya, he said quietly, can you help me get her to the sitting room? Dr. Hensley will want space to examine her. Maya nodded, wiping her cheeks and steadying Evelyn. As they moved, Daniel caught a glimpse of something glinting near the broken porcelain, a small silver hairpin. Regina's. Bent, dropped in the chaos. He pocketed it without a word. A detail. A clue. A truth he wasn't ready to speak yet. They reached the sitting room just as the front door opened and Dr. Hensley rushed inside with his medical bag. What happened? The doctor demanded. Stress, Maya said softly, and fear. Dr. Hensley looked sharply at Daniel. She can't handle episodes like this. Something triggered her. Daniel's jaw tensed. He looked toward the hallway where Regina had vanished. I know what triggered her. The doctor sighed. Well, whatever it was, keep it away from her. Stress could accelerate her condition. Maya lowered her head. Daniel didn't. She stays, he said firmly, nodding toward Maya.
She's the only one my mother trusts right now. Maya blinked, stunned. Dr. Hensley nodded in agreement. She's the only one your mother responded to, Daniel. Evelyn's fingers reached for Maya's again. Small, frail, grateful. Daniel saw the gesture, and the last piece of doubt inside him dissolved. He looked toward the shattered porcelain, the hairpin in his pocket, and the trembling relief on Maya's face. Something inside him shifted. A vow. A suspicion. A storm beginning to gather. Because if Regina lied about this moment, what else had she lied about?
The house felt unnaturally quiet the moment Regina's heels disappeared upstairs. Quiet in a way that made even the air feel watchful. Dr. Hensley examined Evelyn carefully, his brow furrowed in concentration. Maya stayed beside the wheelchair, gently holding the older woman's hand, whispering reassurances in a soft, steady rhythm. Daniel stood behind them, arms crossed, eyes fixed on his mother with a mixture of fear and something deeper, guilt perhaps, or the dawning dread of a son realizing he might have overlooked signs for too long. Finally, the doctor leaned back with a sigh. "She's stable," he said. "But this wasn't just fear. Her blood pressure is far too high, and her breathing shows signs of repeated stress." He raised a knowing brow at Daniel. Repeated. Daniel didn't respond, but the meaning hit him like a blow. Repeated stress meant repeated triggers. Repeated triggers meant this wasn't the first time. His gaze drifted to Maya. She looked at the floor quickly, not guilty, but scared of what her honesty might unleash. Dr. Hensley closed his bag. "She needs a calm environment. You must eliminate whatever or whoever is upsetting her." Daniel's jaw clenched. "I know." The doctor nodded once and left. Only when the door closed did Evelyn exhale shakily, and Maya stroked her shoulder again. "You're safe," she whispered. But safety wasn't the problem. The truth was. Daniel stepped forward. "Maya." His voice was quiet, but it carried weight. Maya looked up, nervous. "Yes, sir?" "Tell me the truth. Not the polite answer. Not the soft one. Not the one I think I want." He sat across from her, leaning in. "Has Regina done this before? To my mother?" Maya swallowed hard. Her eyes flicked to Evelyn, who squeezed her fingers weakly, as if urging her to speak. Maya took a breath. "Yes," she said finally. "She has." The words were barely above a whisper, but in the silence of that room, they landed like thunder. Daniel stared at her, his face unreadable. "How long?" Maya hesitated. "A few months." "A few months?" His voice cracked with disbelief. Maya flinched, not from guilt, but from the memory. "She never touched Mrs. Carter before today," she clarified. "But the yelling, the threats, the intimidation, it's been going on for weeks." Daniel leaned back, stunned. Maya continued, voice trembling. "I didn't tell you because she said if I opened my mouth, she would fire me, and if I tried to take it to the staff director, she would tell them all I was unstable." Daniel stared at her, expression twisting. "She'll ruin anyone who challenges her," Maya whispered. "And you still stayed?" Daniel asked quietly. Maya looked at Evelyn. "For her." Evelyn's eyes watered. Daniel saw it. He saw everything he'd been blind to. He stood abruptly, running a hand through his hair, pacing like a man who just realized he'd been living inside someone else's fiction. "Why didn't my mother tell me?" he demanded softly. Maya's voice broke. "She tried, twice. Regina convinced you she was hallucinating." Daniel froze. That landed hard, too hard. He remembered the moments, his mother whispering, "She frightens me." Regina placing a gentle hand on his arm, smiling sweetly and saying, "Honey, she's confused again." He remembered believing it. He remembered dismissing it. And now the shame crawled up his throat like fire. He sank into a chair, elbows on his knees. "God, what have I done?" Maya hesitated, then whispered, "You believed the wrong person. It happens." "Not when it's your own mother,"
Daniel said, voice cracking. Evelyn lifted her hand toward him. Her son dropped to his knees beside her, taking her fragile fingers in both of his hands. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I should have listened. I should have—" "It's all right," Evelyn murmured. Her voice was fragile, but warm. "You see now." Daniel nodded, tears in his eyes. But the moment broke like glass when a door slammed upstairs. Hard, loud, angry. Regina. Maya stiffened. Daniel turned his head sharply toward the staircase, anger seeping into the edges of his composure. "Stay with my mother," he said. Maya nodded. Daniel walked out of the room. The hallway upstairs was dim, lit by soft sconces, the walls lined with Calloway family, paintings of generations who built the wealth Regina wanted so badly to own. Daniel approached the master bedroom. He heard movement, something falling, something crashing. He opened the door. Regina stood in front of the vanity mirror, mascara running, lipstick smeared. Her hands trembled as she tore jewelry from her neck, one piece at a time, flinging them onto the carpet with choked rage. She saw him in the mirror. "Are you proud of yourself?" she spat. "You embarrassed me in front of the maid." Daniel didn't react. "Regina," he said, "we need to talk." "Oh, now you want to talk, after you let that girl lie to your face?" "Did she lie?" he asked quietly. "Yes," Regina screamed. "She lies about everything. She pretends to be some noble caretaker, but she wants what I have. She wants what you have." Daniel stepped closer. "Regina, my mother is terrified of you. That didn't come from Maya. I saw it." Regina's lips curled. "She's old. Old people get scared of everything. She's scared of you," Daniel snapped, finally raising his voice. Regina froze. A flicker of truth flashed behind her eyes before she smothered it with rage. "You're really choosing a maid over me?" Daniel's silence answered the question. Regina's breath hitched. "You don't understand," she said, stepping closer. "I've done everything for you. Everything. I helped elevate your image. I protected your reputation. I shaped you into the man the city respects." Daniel's eyes hardened. "No," he said. "You shaped a version of me that served you." Regina blinked, and for the first time, she looked genuinely afraid. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't playing, he wasn't confused. He was done. "You need to leave the house tonight," Daniel said quietly. Regina shook her head in disbelief. "You're making a mistake." "No, I'm fixing one." Her lip trembled. "You think you can throw me out like trash?" she whispered. "You think this story ends with you choosing her side? You think the world will ever believe a maid over me?" Daniel stared at her with something colder than anger. "Try me." Regina's eyes burned with hatred. "If I go down," she hissed, "I'm taking both of you with me." Daniel didn't answer. He simply turned, walked out, and closed the door behind him. The lock clicked. Regina stood alone in the darkening room, breathing hard, shaking, her world collapsing around her. "This isn't over," she whispered to her reflection. Her reflection whispered it back. Downstairs, Maya helped Evelyn sip water, unaware of the storm still gathering. But Daniel knew. Every step he took toward the sitting room was slower, heavier, burdened with the realization. This wasn't just conflict. It was war. And the maid he almost fired might be the only person telling the truth in his entire life. Daniel Carter had spent his entire childhood believing that lies came with warning signs, a shifting gaze, a nervous swallow, a crack in the voice. But Regina Lawson was born without those tells. She lied the way other people breathed. By the time he carried his mother into the upstairs sitting room and settled her into a cushioned armchair, Daniel's hands were still shaking, something that hadn't happened to him since the day his father died. "Mom,"
he whispered softly, brushing a strand of white hair away from her forehead. What happened down there? Evelyn's fingers trembled as she reached for him. Her voice cracked. She screamed at Maya, threw something. I can't remember everything, Daniel. I got so scared. Shh, he cupped her hands in his. You're safe now. But his gut was a live wire. Every instinct screamed that something was horribly wrong, and not just in what Regina had done, but in how she had done it. The precision, the timing, the theatrics. Regina hadn't lost control. She'd performed. And Daniel knew because he'd seen her do it before. Downstairs, Regina paced the living room like a storm trapped inside a glass box. Her heartbeat thudded so loudly she could hear it in her ears. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Maya, that insignificant little maid, should have been fired by now, removed, gone. Instead, Daniel had carried his mother upstairs and walked right past Regina without even looking at her, without waiting for her story, without softening, comforting, or reassuring her like he always had. For the first time, Regina felt something she hadn't felt since she was 13 years old, hiding behind a locked bathroom door. Fear. Her hands shook as she stared at her reflection in the black screen of the TV. Pull it together, she hissed. He loves you. He'll believe you. He always does. But in the back of her skull, a quiet voice whispered, Not this time. Her eyes flicked toward the security camera in the corner, the one she had purposely disabled earlier that day under the excuse of, the blinking light is annoying. She had planned for the fight. She had planned for Maya to break down and snap. She had planned to be the frightened hero. Everything was supposed to prove that Maya was dangerous and unpredictable. Because if Maya went, Evelyn would be more vulnerable. And if Evelyn was more vulnerable, Regina would gain more control, more access, more leverage. Daniel trusted his mother, and Regina hated that. Evelyn was the one person he protected with absolute loyalty. Remove Maya, weaken Evelyn, tighten control. That was the strategy. But instead, Daniel looked at Regina like she was a stranger, a liar, a threat. Fix it, Regina whispered to herself, breathing fast. I can fix this. You always do. Her gaze drifted to the staircase. She knew which card she had to play next. The one every manipulator kept tucked away for emergencies. The wounded fiancée, the trembling partner, the woman who just wants to feel safe. Daniel couldn't resist that role. Not yet. Not if she played it right. Upstairs, Maya hovered uncertainly by the doorway of Evelyn's sitting room, her fingers fidgeting, nerves raw. Should I give you both a minute? She asked quietly. No, Evelyn said firmly, surprising them both. Her hand tightened around Maya's. You stay. Daniel looked between them, at his mother's trembling lips, at the faint red mark on Maya's cheek from where debris had grazed her skin, at the way Maya kept wiping tears she didn't want anyone to notice. He had two choices: find out the truth, or allow Regina's performance to poison everything. He made his decision. Mom, he said softly, did Regina hurt you? Evelyn's jaw tightened. That was answer enough. Okay, he whispered, more to himself than to them. Okay. He straightened. Every muscle in his body locked into place. A dangerous stillness spread across his expression. I'll handle this. But when he reached the door, Evelyn's voice stopped him. Daniel, be careful, Maya added quietly. She won't take responsibility. She'll twist it. I know, he said. I'm counting on it. Regina didn't hear his footsteps until he was already halfway down the stairs. She snapped into character instantly,
shoulders slumped, breath shaky, eyes swollen as if she'd been crying. She hadn't. "Daniel," she whispered. He didn't respond. Instead, he walked straight past her and sat down in the armchair across from her like he was preparing for a deposition. He didn't say, "with love, concern, empathy." He said, "Tell me what happened." Regina blinked. That wasn't softness. That wasn't concern. That was distance. Cold, controlled distance. You saw it. She grabbed your mother. She was shaking her. I just tried to stop her." "No," Daniel said sharply. "Tell me what actually happened." Regina's throat bobbed. He wasn't asking like a fiancé. He was interrogating her like a stranger. "Daniel, baby, please!" "Stop," he snapped. Regina froze. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes burning into her. "You screamed at my mother. You threw something at Maya. You terrified both of them. Why?" Regina swallowed. The trap had been set for Maya. Not for her. Not like this. She needed a pivot. A quick one. "I was overwhelmed," Regina whispered, voice trembling. "Your mother said something cruel to me earlier. I'm under so much pressure planning the wedding. I just snapped. I didn't mean to throw it at her. It was the moment. Emotions." Daniel stared at her in complete silence. Then his jaw flexed. "You're lying." Her stomach dropped. "No, Daniel, I swear." "You're lying," he repeated, voice cutting through her sobs like a blade. "Why are you talking to me like this?" "Because I'm done protecting the wrong person." She opened her mouth, but he stood up before she could speak. "You will stay downstairs. Do not go near my mother. Do not go near Maya, and do not leave this house." "Daniel." "Try me," he warned, his voice dropping to a deadly calm. "Give me one reason to believe you meant no harm. Just one." But Regina had nothing. No truth, no defense, no control. She watched him climb the stairs again, her breath shaking, her entire plan collapsing right beneath her expensive heels. And for the first time since she arrived in the Carter mansion, she realized she had underestimated the maid. She had underestimated Evelyn. But most of all, she had underestimated Daniel. And Daniel Carter, he was done being fooled. Daniel Carter didn't storm upstairs. He didn't sprint. He didn't slam doors or shout. No, he moved with a slow, deliberate calm that was infinitely more dangerous. Each step was measured, controlled, calculated. By the time he reached the sitting room, Maya stood up as if she'd been waiting for a verdict. Evelyn lifted her head, worried lines pulling at the edges of her face. Daniel shut the door behind him. A soft click, a quiet signal. Things were about to change. "What did she say?" Evelyn asked, voice fearful. Daniel exhaled. "Everything except the truth." Maya swallowed hard. "That's exactly what we expected." He nodded. But then he did something that startled them both. He dropped to one knee in front of his mother, not like a child begging forgiveness, but like a man preparing to brace himself against whatever storm was coming. "Mom," he said gently, "I need you to tell me exactly what happened before I walked in." Evelyn hesitated, and that hesitation broke his heart. She had spent years enduring cruelty silently because she didn't want to be a burden, because she didn't want Daniel to worry, because she didn't want the house to become a battlefield. But this wasn't silence anymore. This was survival. Evelyn's hands twisted in her lap. "She came in angry. I don't even know why. She accused me of trying to embarrass her." "Embarrass her? How?" Evelyn shook her head slowly. "She said I was ruining her wedding aesthetic, that I was moving too slowly and making guests uncomfortable. She said I should stay in my room until the ceremony." Daniel felt his stomach ice over. "She said that to you?" His voice was low, too low.
Evelyn nodded. And then, she continued shakily, when I told her I wanted to sit in the garden for fresh air, she grabbed my arm, tight. It hurt. Maya flinched. Daniel's jaw locked. She told me, Evelyn said softly, that once she and you were married, she'd have the authority to manage the household properly, and that I should get used to things changing. The silence that followed was suffocating. A silence that wasn't empty. A silence filled with anger, betrayal, and realization. Maya was the first to speak, her voice trembling. She was trying to isolate you. Daniel looked up sharply. Maya continued. I've seen this before, Daniel, not just once, in other families I've worked for. People like her don't want to share control. They want to take it, slowly, quietly, piece by piece. Evelyn's hands twisted in her lap. She's been trying to pit us against each other, Daniel. And suddenly, everything snapped into place. The criticisms, the subtle digs, the accidental comments about Evelyn's memory, the suggestions that she needed supervision, the sudden insistence that she and Daniel meet vendors alone, the hostility toward Maya. Evelyn hadn't been exaggerating. Maya hadn't been mistaken. Regina had been planning this, all of it. Daniel closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them,
Evelyn's face drained of color. My phone has all my medical contacts, my medication reminders, the family attorney's number. Daniel felt something hot, something primal rise inside him. What was she doing? He asked. Maya breathed shakily. She said she was just checking the time, but she swiped through your mother's texts. I saw her open one. Which one? Daniel demanded. Maya forced herself to meet his eyes. The message from your father's lawyer. Evelyn gasped. Daniel froze. That message was private, she whispered. It was about your inheritance, Daniel finished. Everything inside him went still. Maya nodded. She saw the part about the new trust documents, the ones you two were planning to sign next week. Daniel's pulse thundered. The trust. The one that secured Evelyn's long-term care. The one that named Maya, not Regina, as a secondary caretaker because she had earned their trust over years of loyalty, kindness, and competence. The one Regina had no idea existed, until now. Evelyn covered her face with shaking hands. Oh, Daniel, this is bad. No, Daniel said, voice darkening in a way Maya had never heard. It's worse than bad. He ran a hand through his hair as the realization hit him. This entire day, the screaming, the teapot, the setup, wasn't about jealousy or losing control. It was about access, Maya whispered. Daniel nodded. She needed a distraction. Something chaotic enough that she could play the victim while positioning herself as the protector of the house. Evelyn added softly, and if Maya had been fired? She'd be one step closer to controlling you, Daniel finished. Then he looked at Maya, really looked at her. Daniel said, Maya, I owe you the truth too. She blinked. What do you mean? He took a breath. There's a reason Regina hates you so much. A reason she snaps every time she sees you near my mother. Maya froze. Daniel continued. When we reviewed Mom's care plan last month, she asked me who I trusted more with her long-term well-being, who I believed would protect her if anything ever happened to me. Maya's heart pounded. Daniel's eyes softened. I said your name. Silence. Evelyn's eyes shone with quiet pride. Maya blinked, stunned. Daniel, I didn't know. You weren't meant to, he said gently. It was private. But Regina must have seen the draft documents on Mom's phone. Suddenly, Maya understood everything. Why Regina had become more hostile. Why she kept escalating. Why she wanted Maya gone immediately. Because Maya wasn't just a maid. She was a threat. A threat to Regina's plan, a threat to her access, a threat to her control. And now Regina knew it. Daniel straightened, his expression sharpening with resolute and fury. "We need proof," he said quietly. "Something undeniable, something she can't twist or cry her way out of." Maya nodded. "Then let me help you." Evelyn squeezed Maya's hand. "We'll do this together." Daniel exhaled slowly, the kind of breath a man takes right before walking into a war. "He thinks she's winning," he murmured. "She thinks she still has the upper hand." Maya lifted her chin. "Let her think that." Evelyn bent back, determination replacing fear. "She's about to make a mistake." Daniel looked at both of them, the two women Regina had underestimated most. A small, dangerous smile appeared on his face. "No," he said. "She already did."
Regina stood in the foyer like she owned the house. Not like a guest, not like a fiancée. Like a queen who expected the world to kneel when she breathed. Her nails tapped rhythmically against her phone as she paced, rehearsing tears in the reflection of the glass panel. She wiped her eyes, frowned, then adjusted her expression into something softer, more fragile. Perfect. Delicate. Victim-coded. She even practiced a shaky inhale. Maya watched her from the top of the staircase, hidden behind the railing. Regina didn't know she was there, didn't know anyone was watching. But Maya was, and what she saw made her blood turn cold. Regina wasn't panicked. She wasn't scared. She wasn't shaken. She was preparing, like someone getting ready to perform. She whispered to herself, "Just look wounded. Keep your voice low. Let him come to you. Men hate conflict. He'll believe the softer version." Maya's jaw tightened. She thinks she already won. Downstairs, the front door creaked open. Daniel had returned from the guest house where he'd taken a moment to breathe. Regina dropped her phone, stepped back dramatically, and slapped on a gasp so fake Maya nearly groaned out loud. "Daniel, thank God you're back. I didn't know what to do. Your maid—" He cut her off with a single raised hand. Not loud, not rude, just commanding. Regina froze. Daniel didn't look at her, not even once. He walked right past her, his footsteps steady and cold, heading toward the study. "Daniel," Regina called after him. "Can we talk?" He didn't respond. Maya made her way down the stairs quietly. Regina turned and immediately changed her expression to fury. "Oh, it's you." Maya didn't engage. Not yet. Not until they had proof. Not until Regina trapped herself. Instead, she walked past her, silently, heading toward the study doors where Daniel waited. But Regina stepped in her path. "You think you can ruin my engagement?" Regina hissed. "You think you can manipulate him with your sad little puppy eyes?" Maya stayed calm. Flat calm. The kind that drew out the worst in people. "I don't want to fight," she said softly. "Of course you don't, because you'd lose." She leaned in close, breath cold and poisonous. "When I'm done, you won't work in this town again. You won't find another job, not even scrubbing toilets." Maya didn't flinch. "Are you finished?" she asked. Regina blinked, thrown off by how unbothered she was. Daniel's voice echoed from the study. "Maya, please come in." Regina stiffened. He asked her, not Regina, not his fiancée, the maid. She snarled under her breath and stormed after her, trying to reach Daniel first. But when she reached the study doorway, she froze. Evelyn was inside, sitting upright, alert, no longer trembling, but steady, composed, and watching Regina with eyes that weren't fearful anymore, eyes that knew. Daniel stood behind his mother, one hand gently resting on the back of her wheelchair. The balance of power had shifted. Regina felt it instantly. She forced a smile. "Daniel, sweetheart." "Close the door," he said. Not a request, a command. Regina swallowed hard but obeyed. The click of the door echoed like a final warning. Daniel circled around his desk slowly, leaning back against it and crossing his arms. "Regina," he began, voice calm, "I want to hear your version of what happened today." Maya took her place near Evelyn. Regina inhaled, shaky and performative. Well, I was helping your mother, and she lashed out. The maid rushed in and tried to grab me. I thought she was going to hit me. I threw the teapot in fear. Maya looked at the floor, letting the lies settle. Daniel didn't blink, didn't react, didn't interrupt. He just let Regina talk. And when you walked in, she continued, she was clutching your mother like I was hurting her. I've been nothing but kind to Evelyn. You know that. Evelyn's eyebrows lifted. Daniel nodded slowly. Anything else? Regina hesitated. Yes, I also think Maya has been trying to turn you against me. She's jealous. She wants to be more than a maid. Maya remained silent. Regina pressed on. She's infatuated with you. Anyone can see it. She always hovers around you. Daniel said softly. Yes, love? Sit down. Her cheeks flushed with nervous anger, but she forced a smile and obeyed. Daniel opened the desk drawer. He pulled out a tiny black object, barely noticeable in his palm. A recording device. Regina's blood turned to ice. What is that? She whispered. Daniel placed it onto the desk gently, almost lovingly. It's the device I installed in the hallway camera last month. The audio syncs automatically. He tilted his head. Do you want to hear what it picked up today? Regina paled. Her fingers curled against her knee. Daniel, why would you record? He pressed a button, and her own voice filled the room. Don't lecture me, sweetheart. You're here to scrub floors, not touch his mother with your cheap little hands. Regina's face collapsed. Then, you think he's going to choose you? You're nothing. I decide who stays in this house. Then the crashing of the teapot. Then her muttered insult under her breath. Why couldn't she have just stayed upstairs? Old people are useless. Evelyn closed her eyes, pain flashing across her features. Maya clenched her jaw. Regina's mouth opened and closed like she couldn't breathe. Daniel stopped the recording halfway through, sparing her from hearing the rest of her own cruelty. He didn't need to. Everyone in the room already knew. He looked at Regina, really looked at her, and for the first time, he saw her clearly. Not the charming fiancée, not the socialite, not the perfect match his friends and colleagues had praised. He saw the real Regina. A liar, a manipulator, someone who preyed on vulnerability and fed on control. Evelyn's voice broke the silence. Regina, why did you want Maya fired? Regina couldn't speak. Her throat locked, her mind spun, her lies crumbled. Daniel stepped forward. Because she saw something she wasn't supposed to. Maya and Evelyn watched him carefully. Regina's eyes filled with panic. Daniel continued. You went through my mother's phone. You saw private legal messages you had no right to see, including the updated trust documents. Regina's lips trembled. That's not what... Daniel stepped closer, voice cold. You planned to isolate my mother. Remove the one person protecting her. Insert yourself as the gatekeeper of this household. Regina stood upright, panic fully setting in. I made a mistake, okay, but I love you. I was trying to make sure your mother had the right care. Maya finally looked up, her voice soft, but razor sharp. No, you were trying to make sure you had the right access. Regina swung toward her. Shut up. Daniel stepped in their midst in a heartbeat. Don't raise your voice at her. Regina froze. The final shift had happened. Daniel was no longer defending her. He was protecting Maya. Regina's chest heaved. You're choosing her over me? No, Daniel said. I'm choosing the truth over you. He gestured toward the door. Pack your things, leave this house. The engagement is over. Regina's face contorted, shock, rage, desperation all tangled together. You'll regret this, she spat. She's manipulating you. She's after your money. She's after the family. She's after... Evelyn lifted her hand. Enough. The single word carried more power than shouting ever could. Regina's voice died instantly. Evelyn's eyes hardened. You hurt me. You insulted Maya. You tried to control my son's life. And worst of all, you thought I was too weak to notice. Her voice shook only slightly. Leave with whatever dignity you have left. Regina swallowed. looked at Daniel, looked at Maya, looked at Evelyn, and realized she had lost power, influence, access, future. Gone. She turned and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the walls. No one flinched. Not this time. When the echo faded, Daniel let out a slow breath.
Maya placed a gentle hand on Evelyn's shoulder. Evelyn squeezed it back, and for the first time all day, the house felt safe. But this wasn't the end, not even close. Regina wasn't done. She never left quietly, and none of them knew what storm she was about to unleash next.
Regina didn't cry on her way out of the mansion. She didn't collapse. She didn't crumble. She didn't even look back. She walked down the driveway with the stiff, chilling grace of a woman planning something. A woman whose ego had been wounded, not her heart. The storm hadn't started yet, but the air felt charged, waiting. Inside the house, Daniel stood motionless long after the door slammed. His chest rose and fell slowly, as if he were still adjusting to the silence Regina left behind. His jaw was locked tight, and the lines around his eyes were deeper than Maya had ever seen. He looked like a man who had held himself together too long. "Daniel," Evelyn whispered, her frail hand finding his. He knelt beside her wheelchair, pressing his forehead gently to her knuckles. "I'm so sorry, Mom." Evelyn stroked his hair softly. "You protected me, and you protected the truth. That's what matters." Maya lingered just a step behind them, her heart tightening at the sight of them, mother and son, finally standing on the same side after months of tension. But a voice in her chest whispered a warning. Regina isn't finished. Maya knew women like her. Women who didn't lose gracefully. Women who built their identities like fortresses and would burn the world before letting them fall. Daniel rose slowly, exhaling a long, heavy breath. "I need to make some calls. Lawyers, security, HR, the board." Maya nodded. "I'll take care of your mother." He paused at the doorway, glancing back. Their eyes met, his filled with a gratitude he hadn't learned how to voice yet. "Thank you," he said softly, "for everything today." She gave a small smile. "It's not over yet." He froze. "What does that mean?" Maya hesitated. "Regina, she isn't the walk away and reflect type. She's the strike back even harder type." Daniel's eyes darkened. "I'm prepared for that." But he wasn't. Not yet. No one could prepare for the kind of destruction Regina Ward was capable of when cornered. Hours passed before the first blow landed. It started online. A notification buzzed on Daniel's phone. Then another. Then another. He frowned and reached for it, only to go rigid when he saw Regina's name. She'd posted a long public statement, then photos, then screen grabs, then a video she edited with just enough distortion to make Maya look like a threat. The caption read, "The truth about the maid who attacked my mother-in-law. I stayed silent to protect Daniel, but I can't anymore." Maya's heart sank as she and Evelyn watched from the living room couch. Regina had twisted everything. A photo of Maya holding Evelyn during a panic episode cropped to look like she was restraining her. A clip where Evelyn flinched slowed down to look like fear. A photo of Maya entering Daniel's office captioned as obsessive behavior. Regina had turned compassion into conspiracy. The comments flooded in instantly. "OMG, poor Regina. She looks terrified. Are they serious? They let a dangerous maid around an old woman? Daniel should protect his fiancée. Fire her immediately. Evelyn's breathing turned shallow. Maya's stomach dropped. Daniel stormed into the room, phone in hand, his expression a war between rage and disbelief. "She twisted everything," Maya whispered. Daniel's voice was low and dangerous. "I know. She has millions of followers. People believe her." A news alert popped up on the TV automatically. Regina's post had already hit trending. Another appeared seconds later. Socialite Regina Ward claims mistreatment inside Carter estate. Another. Abuse allegations surface against household staff. Maya leaned back, eyes burning. "She's trying to destroy me." Daniel set his phone down slowly. "No, she's trying to destroy us." That word, us, made Maya swallow hard. But there was no time to think about that. Daniel's phone buzzed again. He checked it, and his face paled. "What?" Maya asked. "Regina just called a press conference." Evelyn groaned softly. "Lord help us." Daniel ran a hand through his hair. "She's doing it tonight. She's painting the entire family as abusive, controlling, and blaming it all on you." Maya felt sick. It didn't matter that it wasn't true. It didn't matter that the audio recording existed. It didn't matter that Regina almost hurt Evelyn. People didn't care about truth. They cared about a good story. Regina was giving them one. And then the doorbell rang. Loud, insistent. Too many ringers to be polite. Daniel stiffened. "Maya, stay behind me." But when he opened the door, it wasn't Regina. It was worse. Cameras. Dozens. Reporters filled the porch, flashing lights exploding like lightning. "Mr. Carter, is it true your maid assaulted your mother? Did you cover up the incident to protect her? Is this why Regina ended the engagement? Has your mother been mistreated in your home? Who is Maya Bennett really? Is she your mistress?" Maya felt her stomach twist painfully. Evelyn pressed her hands to her temples. Daniel stepped outside, body blocking the doorway as he raised his voice above the chaos. "No comment! Get off my property now!" A reporter yelled back. "Then why did Regina Ward just accuse you of emotional abuse?" Daniel froze. Maya's breath caught. "What did she say?" Daniel demanded, but the crowd was too loud, too frenzied, too hungry. They shouted over one another, drowning him in noise and accusation. He slammed the door shut, leaning his forehead against it as his breath shook. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It had become a wildfire. Maya approached carefully. "Daniel, what did she say?" He turned slowly, eyes haunted by rage he couldn't control. "She's claiming I isolated her, controlled her, that she was scared to leave the engagement, and that you," his jaw clenched, "influenced me, manipulated me into ending things." Evelyn gasped. "She's lying." "I know," Daniel whispered, "but she said it on national TV." Silence suffocated the room. And then, a second wave hit. His phone vibrated violently. A text from the board. A text from HR. A text from PR. A text from the family lawyer. All with the same urgent tone. "Call us now." Daniel sank into the nearest chair. "They want to suspend me from the company." Maya felt her knees weaken. Evelyn whispered, "This is my fault." "No, Mom, this is Regina." Daniel stood up again, pacing, hands on his head. "She's not just trying to hurt us, she's trying to tie a noose around our entire name." Maya inhaled sharply. "What do we do?" Daniel turned to her, and the answer he gave was not the calm whisper she expected. It was a decision, a declaration,
a shift in the story. We fight back. We show them everything. Maya's eyes widened. Everything? Daniel, that recording alone. Not just the recording, the camera footage, the messages, the documents, the surveillance, all of it. Maya swallowed. That will ruin her. His voice was made of steel. She earned it. But even as he spoke the words, he knew exposing Regina would unleash a war bigger than any of them were prepared for. And she would not fall quietly. She would drag the entire city down with her before she let her image crack. The world had taken her side first. Now it was time for the truth to fight its way out.
Daniel didn't sleep the night before. He sat in the dark study of the Carter estate, the only light coming from the single desk lamp he'd forgotten to switch off. The house was quiet, painfully quiet, the kind of silence that followed a storm but promised another one coming right behind it. On the desk, 3 objects: the broken porcelain shard, his mother's trembling signature, and Maya's hairpin, the one Regina claimed she'd used as a weapon. Daniel picked up the hairpin, turning it between his fingers. Thin, delicate, harmless, a soft rose-gold glimmer. He remembered seeing it once before, tucked behind Maya's ear as she tied his mother's blankets. Something gentle, something steady. Nothing like the violence Regina accused her of. He set the pin down, but his hand lingered. He wasn't ready to admit it to himself. Not yet, but something had shifted the moment he walked into that room and saw Maya kneeling between Regina and his mother. Not cowering, not defensive, just protective. And now, hours later, her shaky voice replayed in his mind like a needle stuck on the same broken groove. "She's scared. Please, just breathe." He'd heard fear before. Panic, lies, anger. But that tone? That was loyalty. The kind of loyalty you couldn't fake. He leaned back, rubbing his temples, and then his phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. He frowned. Opened it. One photo. No text. A blurry still shot from the mansion's interior security camera. Timestamp from the day of the incident. The large foyer. His mother. Maya. Regina. Daniel zoomed in. He saw Regina standing over Evelyn, fingers around the old woman's wrist, hard, tight, aggressive. He zoomed again. Evelyn wasn't reaching for Regina. Regina was pulling her. Hard enough to make Evelyn wince. Hard enough to frighten her. Hard enough to cause the exact panic attack Maya had tried to calm. Daniel's jaw tightened until it ached. He checked the sender. No name, just a single letter. M. It took him 3 seconds to understand. Maya didn't want to fight, didn't want glory, didn't want to be right. She just wanted him to see the truth. He stared at the screen for a long moment until something colder, darker, stronger settled behind his ribs. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a conflict. It was a trap. A trap he almost fell into. And now he knew who set it. 6 hours later, the Carter home filled with visitors. Board members, family friends, business associates. Regina insisted on hosting a small gathering to stabilize public appearance. In reality, she wanted the sympathy. She worked the room like a politician on election day. Soft tears, trembling voice, dramatic pauses. She assaulted his mother. "I was terrified. I don't know how someone like that got hired." Daniel watched her from across the room. He didn't approach. He didn't interrupt. He didn't even blink. He studied her the way a surgeon studied a tumor, methodical, detached, already planning the extraction. Regina caught his eye. Immediately she performed. "Daniel, you're here! I was worried you were still upset." He said nothing.
She placed a shaking hand on his arm. "The board members need to hear we're united. Please, tell them Maya is gone for good. They're waiting for your statement." His expression didn't shift. "A statement?" "Yes," she whispered, "to protect the family name." The family name. God. She had no idea. He leaned slightly toward her, voice low. What if the truth protects the family name better than a lie? Her eyes widened, but she smiled through it, fragile, trembling, determined to stay in control. "What truth, darling?" He reached into his pocket. Regina's confidence cracked for the first time. Always a good sign. He pulled out her engagement ring. Her face drained. "Daniel, what are you doing?" He didn't speak yet. He let the silence do the work. He held the ring between his fingers, lifting it just enough for the light to catch the stones. Gasps spread through the room as whispers rippled like wind across glass. "What's happening? Is he breaking the engagement? Did something happen? They said the maid. Maybe that's not true." Regina stepped closer, her breath sharp. "You're humiliating me." "No," Daniel said quietly. "You did that on your own." She flinched. He reached into his other pocket and pulled out his phone, tapped the screen. The foyer video appeared, instantly, clear as day. Regina yanking Evelyn's wrist, Maya trying to stop it, Evelyn panicking, the sequence of events that destroyed everything, projected onto the house's central display wall. Gasps, whispers slammed into silence. Then outrage. "Oh my God! She grabbed his mother! So the maid wasn't that poor woman. She was helping." Regina's voice cracked into a shriek. "That video is edited." Daniel finally looked at her, really looked at her, with all the cold, collected power of a man who just realized how close he came to marrying a predator. "What do you think is edited, Regina?" He took a step forward. "Your story." Another step. "Your innocence." One more step. "And your future in this family." She trembled. "You're choosing a maid over me?" "I'm choosing truth," he said, "and my mother's safety." His voice lowered, dangerous. "And Maya? She's the only one who was protecting her that day." Regina stepped back, now shaking, mascara streaking, breath rattling. "Daniel, you can't end an engagement over one mistake." "You're right," he said. "This isn't about a mistake." He placed her ring in her palm and closed her fingers around it. He turned away. Regina froze, the ring burning in her fist. Daniel didn't wait for her, didn't acknowledge the crowd, didn't give her room to speak again. He walked out of the room, straight toward the kitchen hallway, straight toward the woman who sent him the truth. Maya stood near the back exit, jacket on, small bag in hand. She'd already been planning to leave, quietly, permanently. When Daniel appeared, she stiffened. I'm leaving. I didn't want more trouble." He stepped closer. "You're not the trouble, Maya." I didn't send the video to destroy your engagement. I couldn't let her lie about your mother, or me." His voice softened, barely above a whisper. "You knew I'd see it. I hoped you would, but I wasn't sure." He exhaled slowly. "I'm sorry," he said, "for believing her, even for a moment." "You were protecting your mother," Maya said gently. "I respect that." Daniel looked at her for a long moment, the kind of look that wasn't just gratitude, but recognition. "You're not leaving," he said finally. "I think it's best," Maya replied. "For everyone." "For everyone?" Daniel shook his head. "Or for you?" The question hit deeper than she expected. He stepped closer, voice low. "Stay. Not as staff, not as someone accused, but as the one person in this house who told the truth when it mattered." She blinked, shocked, caught off guard. "Daniel, Why would you want me to stay?" "Because," he said softly, "everything changed the second I saw who you really are." Her throat tightened. He offered a small, steady hand, a peace offering, a beginning, a turning point. Maya hesitated, breath unsteady, then placed her hand in his. And for the first time since the entire nightmare began, she didn't feel like the maid. She felt like someone who finally mattered.
The morning after everything exploded, the Carter estate didn't feel like a mansion. It felt like a battlefield. Servants whispered. Security moved like shadows. Board members made frantic calls. And somewhere upstairs, Regina was packing, shoving gowns and jewelry into suitcases with shaking hands, muttering threats into the empty room. But Daniel wasn't thinking about her anymore. He was thinking about one thing: finishing this, protecting Maya, rebuilding the truth everyone tried so hard to bury. He found Maya in the garden just past sunrise, sitting on the stone bench beneath the maple tree. Her hands were folded in her lap, her breath fogging in the cold morning air. She didn't hear him at first. He watched her, not in pity, not in guilt, but in deep, quiet admiration. "No one should look that calm after surviving a war," he said. She turned, startled, but softened when she saw him. "I'm not calm," she whispered. "I just ran out of tears." Daniel sat beside her, leaving just enough space to not overwhelm her. "You don't owe this house anything anymore," he said, "but I do. And before this is over, you're getting justice, the right way." "Justice?" she echoed, a bitter edge in her voice. "People like me don't usually get that." "In this house," he said firmly, "you will." She didn't answer, but a flicker of something, not hope, but something close, crossed her eyes. Daniel stood. "Come with me. There's something you need to see." He led her back inside, not toward the kitchen or the staff wing, but up the grand staircase, toward his mother's room. Maya froze. "Daniel, I shouldn't." "Yes," he said gently, "you should." He opened the door. Evelyn Carter was awake, wrapped in a soft blue blanket, sunlight bouncing off the framed photos around the room. When she saw Maya, her entire face brightened in a way that Maya swallowed hard. "Dear heart," she whispered, "come here." Maya went to her cautiously, but Evelyn grabbed her hands with surprising strength. "You saved me," the older woman said. "I remember everything." Maya blinked. You do?" Evelyn nodded slowly, eyes welling. "I was confused that day, scared, but I remember Regina hurting my wrist. I remember her screaming, and I remember you holding me like your own mother." Tears pricked Maya's eyes. Evelyn squeezed her hand tighter. "You weren't protecting me because it was your job," she said. "You protected me because you're a good woman." Daniel stepped forward. "Mom, there's something else." Evelyn glanced at him, understanding instantly. "Bring it," she said. Daniel took a folder from the dresser. Maya recognized it before he even handed it to her, her employment file. She gently opened the envelope and froze. Inside, paper clipped together neatly, were all the things Regina had ripped apart. Her certificate from the caregiving program, her letters of recommendation, her spotless background check, her CPR training, her references praising her for compassion and integrity. Maya's breath hitched. "I thought she destroyed these." "She did, or she thought she did." He nodded toward the door. Luis, the head housekeeper, stepped in quietly. "It was me," he said. "I pulled them from the trash before she burned them." Maya covered her mouth, tears spilling over. "Why?" she whispered. Luis smiled softly. "Because good people deserve someone looking out for them, too." Evelyn reached for the papers, flipping through them slowly. "So, this is the woman I trusted my life with. Not that fiancée of yours." Daniel's jaw tightened. "She won't trouble this family again." Maya's tears fell faster. She wasn't used to people defending her, not like this. Not openly, not loudly.
Evelyn gently patted the seat beside her. "Sit, dear," she said. "We have something important to decide." Maya sat. Daniel remained standing, but his expression softened in a way Maya hadn't seen before. Evelyn folded her hands. "Maya," she said, "I know I'm not your mother, but I would like you to stay in my life, not as staff, as family." Maya shook her head. "That's too much. I don't deserve—" Evelyn silenced her with a raised hand. "You deserve more than this house ever gave you." Daniel stepped closer. "She's right." Maya looked between them, heart pounding. "What are you asking me?" she whispered. Daniel lowered himself until he was level with her. Not the man of the estate, not the heir, not the figure of power everyone bowed to, just a man with something real to say. "I'm asking you to consider a life where you're not carrying everything alone. A life where you're respected, valued, seen." "Daniel," her voice trembled, "you don't have to." "I know," he interrupted softly, "but I want to." The room held its breath. Evelyn smiled through tears. Luis bowed his head, as if acknowledging a truth he'd known longer than anyone. And Maya, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Chosen. Not for labor, not for silence, not for sacrifice, for who she was. Downstairs, chaos erupted. Regina stormed through the hall, suitcase wheels thumping violently on the wood floor. "Where is he?" she screamed. "He can't ignore me. I'll sue. I'll destroy." Security blocked her path. "You need to leave, Miss Hale." "You can't kick me out. I'm his fiancée." The guard didn't blink. "Not anymore." "What did that low-class maid do to him?" she screamed. "She bewitched him, manipulated. She's nothing." "Miss Hale," the guard said firmly, "your car is waiting." "I'm not leaving without Daniel." Daniel stepped into the foyer, calm, composed, done with her. Regina spun toward him, eyes wild. "Daniel, tell them I'm still—" "You're trespassing." Her mouth snapped shut. "You hurt my mother," he continued. "You lied, you manipulated, and then you tried to destroy the one person who protected her." Regina's face twisted. "You're choosing that maid over me?" Daniel didn't hesitate. "I'm choosing humanity over cruelty." Maya had appeared at the top of the stairs, frozen in place, watching everything. Evelyn sat in her wheelchair behind her, hands trembling not from weakness, but from rage. Regina turned, eyes landing on Maya. "This is your fault," she spat. Maya flinched, but Daniel stepped between them. "Say her name," he said quietly. "Because if you speak about her again without respect, you won't just be escorted out, you'll be dragged out." Regina swallowed. Silence. "Now leave," Daniel finished. Her face twisted into something venomous, but she knew it was over. Everything was over. Security escorted her out. The doors slammed behind her, and the house, finally, exhaled. Later that evening, the sunset cast golden light across the mansion. The chaos was gone, the lies removed, the poison extracted. Maya stood on the balcony overlooking the gardens, arms wrapped around herself. She didn't hear Daniel step out until his jacket draped softly over her shoulders. "You didn't have to do all of that," she said quietly. "I did, and I'm not done," he replied. She turned toward him. "What happens now?" Daniel took a slow breath, the kind a man takes when he's about to change the course of his own life. "Now," he said softly, "you stay here on your terms. Work with a fair contract if you want to continue caring for my mother. Go take classes, save money, build the life you want." She clenched her hands in front of her, her eyes glistening. "And after that?" His gaze held hers. "After that, we see where this goes." The air stilled. Not rushed, not forced, not owed. Just real. Maya nodded slowly. Daniel brushed a stray tear from her cheek. "You deserve peace," he whispered. "And you deserve someone honest," she whispered back. They stood there in quiet, the sunset fading behind them, the worst behind them, and the truth finally out. And for the first time since she entered the Carter mansion,
Maya didn't feel like an outsider. She felt like someone standing at the beginning of something finally beautifully hers. Something earned, something protected, something real. The final reckoning had already happened, and Maya had won.